They killed the music the moment I slapped the divorce papers on the DJ booth. It wasn't planned, not entirely. Maybe it started as a joke in my head or a revenge fantasy I never thought I'd actually act out. But when I saw him across the rooftop, collar open, drink in hand, that same polite smile like nothing had changed, I felt something snap. And just like that, I was walking across the crowd, heels biting into wood planks, papers in hand like I was delivering a wedding cake made of razor blades. The beat cut out mid-drop. A girl in a glittery mini dress actually screamed. And there it was. Silence, spotlight, and 30 pages of legal dissolution fanned out across the DJ's table like some twisted party favor. Matt blinked once. Then again. That was it. "She's serving him here?" Someone near the bar whispered, loud enough for the entire skyline to hear. I raised my glass with a trembling smile. "Happy freedom to me?" People stared, some horrified, some hungry for drama. A few phones went up, then came the buzz. My phone, other hand, still clenched like a second weapon. "Dad-in-law," the contact read. I didn't even need to check to know what the voicemail would say. "Heather, pick up. Before you lose more than your marriage." I didn't pick up. Couldn't. Couldn't break the high. Couldn't face reality, not when the fake version of strength still tasted like Prosecco and sweat. Matt didn't yell, didn't throw the drink. He just reached out, picked up the papers like they were a receipt, and skimmed. His expression didn't change. He folded the top sheet slowly, tucked it into his blazer, and said, loud enough for the VIP section to hear, "You practiced this, didn't you?" I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You wanted a moment, a climax. Like one of those confession videos you post at 2 a.m. A ripple of laughter rolled through the crowd. I swallowed, my skin went hot. "Well," he said, "congrats, you got your moment. But if you think this is the first move, Heather, you're late to the game." Then he stepped aside, calm as ever, and vanished through the exit door like a closing chapter. The crowd shifted, phones went down. Someone restarted the music, but it was quieter now, like the speakers knew it wasn't their night anymore. I stood there for too long. Long enough for Jessie to appear behind me, drink in hand, eyes wide. "Girl, what was that?" I didn't answer. "No, seriously, divorce papers? On the DJ? That's iconic." Her voice was bright, a little too bright, like she was trying to steer the moment back toward celebration. But something about it grated. It sounded rehearsed. "Did you know he'd be here?" I asked. My voice came out thin, almost inaudible. "Matt? I mean, you said he liked this place. Thought it'd be poetic." Poetic. That word settled in my stomach like a stone. I walked past her toward the edge of the rooftop. The city lights pulsed below, dazzling and disinterested. I stared down at the phone still buzzing in my hand. 5 missed calls, all from the same number. My thumb hovered over call back. "Heather?" Jessie's voice behind me, nervous now. "It's fine. You needed this. You've been stuck for too long." I turned slowly. What exactly did I need? She blinked. Freedom. Power. This moment. He had it coming. And you planned it. There it was. The shift. "You're spiraling," she snapped. "Don't make this about me." "It's not about you," I said, pocketing the phone. "It's about me finally seeing things clearly." I walked past her again. Down the stairs, past a couple still laughing about the scene, past the valet guy pretending not to notice the war I'd just started. Inside the rideshare car, I finally opened the voicemail. "Heather, it's Ray. I don't know what game you're playing, but Matt's not bluffing anymore. That post-nup you signed? I told you to read it. Call me back before it's too late." Post-nup? My heart actually skipped. Not in the romantic way. In the oh no the floor is missing kind of way. "This isn't about you getting even," his voice continued. "This is about you losing everything. The house, the savings, the kids. You think this is a victory lap? Heather, this is checkmate." My ears rang. My hands felt like they weren't connected to my arms. I looked out the window as the city blurred by. Checkmate? I thought this was the beginning of my freedom arc, the first scene in my comeback story. But what if it was the final scene of someone else's? It started with a whisper in my mind. I deserve more. More excitement, more attention, more life. Matt was always there, steady, reliable, but the spark had dimmed. I craved the thrill I saw in others' lives, the kind of passion that made you feel alive. Jessie, my closest friend, was my confidant and co-conspirator. She'd nudge me during our nights out, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "You need to let loose, Heather. Remember who you were before the kids, before the routine?" We frequented bars where the music pulsed through our veins, and the world felt full of possibilities. I'd post stories captioned Mom's Night Out, capturing moments of laughter and liberation. Meanwhile, Matt was at home, folding laundry, the soft hum of the dryer accompanying his solitude. One evening, I returned home late. The house was silent, the kids asleep. Matt sat on the couch, a book in his lap, unread. He looked up, his eyes searching mine. "Do you still love me?" I hesitated, the weight of the question pressing down. "Love? Sure," I replied, scrolling through my phone. "But I love living too." That moment hung in the air, heavy and unspoken. Matt didn't argue. He simply nodded, a distant look in his eyes, and retreated into himself. Weeks passed, and Matt's silence grew. He no longer reached out, no longer tried to bridge the growing chasm between us. I interpreted his withdrawal as indifference, fueling my justification for seeking connection elsewhere. Enter Travis. A message popped up on my social media. "Saw your story. You light up the room." Flattered, I responded. Our conversations were light, flirtatious, and exhilarating. He made me feel seen, desired. One night, as I laughed at a message from Travis, Matt walked in, holding a stack of papers. "I've been reviewing our finances," he said calmly. "We need to talk." I looked up, startled. "Now?" He nodded, placing the papers on the table. "There's a lot you don't know." The realization hit me. While I was seeking validation elsewhere, Matt was preparing for a different kind of separation, one that involved lawyers and asset divisions. I felt a pang of guilt, but quickly suppressed it. He stopped trying first, I told myself. I'm just finding happiness. But deep down, I knew the truth. The foundation of our marriage had cracks, and instead of repairing them, I chose to dance around the rubble. In seeking excitement, I lost sight of the stability and love that once anchored me. The thrill was fleeting, but the consequences were lasting. I began to question my choices, wondering if the temporary highs were worth the enduring pain. The knock came while I was blow-drying my hair. It was the kind of knock that didn't belong to a neighbor or a delivery guy. It had rhythm, weight, intention. I muted the blow-dryer and padded to the door barefoot, silk robe tied like armor, lashes half done. And there he was. Ray Callahan, Matt's father. Tie loosened, coat open, sleeves rolled back like he hadn't decided whether to lecture me or pack a suitcase. He held up a sealed envelope. "Open it before you choose your next dress." No hello, no small talk, just that line, and it sliced through my little high like cold air. "I'm kind of busy," I replied, trying to sound amused. "Unless you're here to compliment the robe." He didn't smile. "This isn't about fabric, it's about foundation." I stared at the envelope. It looked innocent, white, crisp, almost clinical. Like it held instructions for furniture, not my financial future. "I'm not opening some secret message from the Callahan Council of Morality," I said, arms crossed. "Then throw it out, but you'll want to read the part about the kids." That stopped me. My hand twitched. I took it. He didn't step inside, just stood there, the hallway light painting a sharp line down his face. "Heather, this isn't about shame. It's about what's coming." "I know what's coming," I muttered. "I started it." Ray tilted his head. "That's what worries me." I shut the door on him with a little too much force. The envelope felt heavier now. Back in the kitchen, I opened it with a butter knife. Spreadsheets spilled out first. Black and white grids with labels like Brokerage D and Children's Irrevocable Trust. Then a printed letter, single-spaced. It read, "Heather, the post-nut protects these funds for the children. You signed it when Matt got his raise. I was in the room. You were distracted. Planning a vacation, I think. He asked twice if you were sure. You said, 'Of course, baby, I trust you.' These accounts were built to shelter their future, not yours. They are untouchable unless you fight dirty. I'm hoping you won't. Walk carefully." Ray, I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. It sounded wrong even to my own ears. Too loud in an empty kitchen, too brittle to mean anything real. I poured myself a drink, one of the expensive whites Matt used to save for anniversaries, and let it sit untouched. That envelope sat beside my wine glass like a second glass of reality I didn't order. Later that night, I called Jessie. She answered on the third ring, already giggling about something. "Heather, tell me you saw Travis's story. He tagged you, babe. Goddess energy." "I got a visit from Matt's dad." She went quiet. I told her about the letter, the spreadsheets, the post-nup clause. Her voice dropped. "So what? You're not stealing from the kids. You're just finding balance." "Balance?" I repeated. "He basically told me to put down the lighter before I torched the future." "Okay, well, maybe he's bluffing." "He had documents, Jessie. Everyone has documents." I sighed. He said the funds are legally locked in. There was a pause. Then she said quieter, "Are you scared?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to say of course not, that I was empowered, that Matt's silence meant he had no cards left. But I thought of Ray's face. How calm it was. How pitying. I thought of the letter, the part where he said, "You were distracted, planning a vacation." And I remembered it. I had been. I had told Matt, "Just sign whatever, babe. Let's book the flights before prices go up." He'd asked, "Are you sure you don't want to read this?" I'd kissed his cheek and said, "I trust you." And now? Now it felt like I'd handed him the deed to a bomb shelter and chosen to party in the minefield. I opened the fridge, reached for grapes. Instead, I found the small drawing my daughter had taped to the freezer door, a stick figure of our family. 4 smiles, 1 home. I stared at it for a beat too long. Then I peeled it off and set it on the counter beside the spreadsheets. The wine was still untouched. I picked up my phone and hovered over Matt's name. His photo was still a selfie I took at the beach, his smile squinting, wind in his hair. It made my throat tighten. I didn't call. Instead, I texted Jessie. Maybe I've been doing this all wrong. She replied fast. "What are you talking about? You're finally living." I stared at her message. It felt like a dare. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't reply. Fast forward to the night Matt discovered the Travis text on the family iPad. The kids were asleep. The house was unusually quiet, like it was bracing itself. I was curled up on the couch with my phone, giggling softly at something Travis had texted, something about how I didn't seem like other married women, whatever that meant. I remember thinking his spelling was awful but charming, and how I should screenshot it for Jessie. She loved that stuff. Then I heard the footsteps, not rushed, not stomping, measured. I glanced up and froze. Matt stood at the bottom of the stairs in sweatpants and a black hoodie, iPad in one hand, expression unreadable. My stomach flipped. "Hey," I said, instantly locking my phone like a teenager who just got caught past curfew. He didn't answer, just walked into the room, iPad raised slightly, like it weighed more than usual. "You forgot to log out," he said quietly. "What?" "The Messages app." He turned the screen to face me. It synced, automatically. He didn't need to show me more than a second of it, just the preview of Travis's, "You make it home safe," followed by my, "Yeah, last night was fun." That was enough. "You're entertaining futures that leave me no present." That line, it didn't come out angry. It came out still. Still enough to make the room feel colder. "I didn't do anything," I said immediately, hands up, defensive. "We were just talking. I never met up with him. Not like that." Matt nodded slowly, scrolling again. "So, this line, 'Too bad I'm married,' huh? That's what, a haiku?" It was a joke. God, you're blowing this out of proportion. He didn't blink. "You didn't cheat. You market tested." I stood up. "You know what? Maybe if you weren't so cold all the time, I wouldn't need someone else to remind me I'm alive." His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite a flinch. "Got it," he said. "I'm the reason you flirt." I didn't flirt. My voice cracked. He raised an eyebrow. I read the emojis. Silence. Then, without another word, he turned and walked upstairs. I stood there, shaking. For a second, I thought maybe it was over, that we'd just stew in separate rooms like we always did now. But 5 minutes later, he came back down, with a suitcase. I blinked. "Wait, what are you doing?" Matt didn't answer. He pulled a file folder from the drawer by the front door. A pen clicked, then clicked again. I rushed forward. "You're seriously packing a bag? After one argument?" "No," he said, zipping the suitcase. "After months of watching you leave in different ways." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. That was what made it worse. He placed the folder on the kitchen island. Post-nuptial agreement, signed by you, filed, enforceable. I stared at it like it was a bomb about to go off. I vaguely remembered signing something years ago when he got that raise. I was planning a beach trip. I hadn't read it. Just kissed his cheek and said, "Of course, babe. I trust you." "You can keep the house," he added, "but not the assets. They're locked down, for the kids." "For the kids," I echoed, dazed. "You're leaving me with the mortgage?" He nodded. "And the taxes. That's not fair." Neither was reading Travis's messages over my daughter's homework app. I felt the slap of that even though he didn't raise a hand. Then, just like that, he left. No door slam. No goodbye.
just the clean click of the latch behind him. I stood there in the silence. Even the refrigerator hum sounded accusatory. Jessie called the next morning. "You okay?" she asked, too chipper. "Did he really walk out?" "He did," I whispered. "Well, screw him. You're gonna bounce back like a queen." That made me smile, almost. Until 2 days later, she sent me a screenshot of Matt's dating app profile.
Matt, 36, steady, focused, looking for someone who values peace over chaos. She followed it with laughing emojis. He's already living. Girl, look at that bio. Petty king behavior. At first I laughed too, but something about her tone grated. Like she wasn't sharing it with me. She was gloating. Like this wasn't support. It was sport. I stared at her messages, heart sinking. When Matt left, Jessie didn't offer me tissues. She offered tequila and captions. She wasn't in my corner. She was in my chaos. I threw my phone across the couch. It buzzed once more, a DM from Travis this time. "Still thinking about you. Want to meet up next weekend?" I didn't answer. Instead, I walked upstairs, opened the closet, and looked at the shoes I used to wear to Matt's office parties. The black heels he bought me on our 5th anniversary. Still in their box, still spotless. I sank to the floor. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was punishment. This wasn't freedom. It was fallout. Desperate to outrun shame, I sold what furniture I could and fled to Valencia. 1 dresser, 2 end tables, a velvet headboard that still smelled like Matt's cologne. I listed them all online, told myself they were just things. Not memories, not losses. I booked the cheapest one-way ticket I could find. No seat selection, no checked bag. I told Jessie I needed a soul cleanse, but in reality, I just couldn't face my own reflection anymore. My plan? Valencia, sunshine, seafood. Maybe one of those Instagram-perfect eat, pray, unfollow resets. I imagined a story arc I could post in a carousel. She lost it all, then found herself among orange trees and tapas. But the thing about shame is that it packs light and follows you anyway. I met Leo on my 2nd night. He was a local chef, half Spanish, half Filipino, with laugh lines that made you feel like you were in on something special. He caught me snapping a photo of his restaurant sign as the sun dipped behind the tiled rooftops. "You take photo like you're saving it for later," he said, wiping his hands on a towel. "But the flavor is now." I laughed, flustered. "I'm a tourist. I hoard proof I existed." "Come," he smiled, "then exist properly." And just like that, I did. For the next 3 weeks, I existed in Leo's world. Mercados at sunrise, cigarettes on the balcony at midnight, stories told in English thick with warm vowels. He praised my laugh, said freedom looked good on me. I let him say it. I needed someone to. He'd cook for me after closing hours, stew bubbling in old copper pots, jazz echoing off stone walls. I'd sit on the countertop, glass of cheap white wine in hand, pretending this was my redemption story. He kissed me slow. No demands, no questions, just a man who knew how to read loneliness like a recipe. I didn't ask about his past. He didn't ask about mine. Until I did. One afternoon, he left me alone in the flat while he ran downstairs to meet a fish delivery. I wandered into the pantry looking for coffee. The air was cool, heavy with paprika and citrus. And that's when I saw it. Taped to the inside of the pantry door, a child's crayon drawing. Para papa. It showed 3 stick figures, one tall, one small, one with curly hair, a sun in the corner, a crooked little house. I stared at it too long, heart thudding like a warning. Leo returned, humming. "Who drew this?" I asked casually, holding up the picture like it was part of the decor. He froze for a second, too short for denial, too long for comfort. "My niece," he said quickly. "She visits." I didn't respond, just nodded, heart sinking. 2 nights later, I found out the truth. It was closing time. The restaurant had gone quiet. The chairs were upside down on tables. I was in the back, helping him dry glasses when I saw her. A woman, tall, elegant, tired, walked in like she knew the space. Her heels clicked with familiarity, no confusion. She stood in the archway, arms crossed. Leo froze. She didn't look at me, not really, just past me, through me. "Lo hace con las turistas," she said softly. Her voice was calm, but frayed at the edges. "Las hace sentir especiales, para sentirse soltero." I didn't catch every word, but I didn't need to. Leo stepped forward, stammering, "Maria, please, She cut him off with a glance, then looked at me, really looked at me for the first time, not with anger, with pity. Then she turned, walked out, and the door whispered shut behind her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. But something inside me dropped like a tray of plates I'd never been holding right. "So," I said, my voice flat. "Maria, that's your wife?" Leo sat on a stool like his legs had forgotten what they were for. "We're not together. Not really. It's complicated." "Is she the one who drew that house with your kid?" He didn't answer. That silence, it was an answer. I sat beside the stove, hands in my lap. My skin felt numb, like I'd left it behind in another version of me. "You do this with all of them?" I asked. "Women like me?" "No," he said softly. "You say that like it matters." He looked up. "I liked you." That hurt worse, because I believed him. Back at the flat, I packed in silence. One small bag, same size I arrived with. I stared at the window where we'd once shared wine and slow jazz, where he'd said I looked beautiful without even trying, and I realized this is what I did to Matt. Maybe not exactly, but close enough to rhyme. I was the new Travis, the shiny distraction from someone's real life. I was the problem with a passport. Leo didn't try to stop me. I think we both knew I'd already left. I came home broke but combustible. No furniture, no husband, barely a bank account, just a carry-on full of wrinkled sundresses, a souvenir lemon magnet from Valencia, and a heart that felt like it had been through customs without clearance. I didn't cry. Not when the Uber dropped me at the curb of the apartment I now shared with a broken thermostat. Not when I opened the fridge to find a half-empty bottle of sriracha and expired almond milk. Not even when Jesse texted, "Back already? Didn't get your groove back?" No. I turned off my phone, opened my laptop, and at 3:17 a.m. I opened Reddit, typed the title first. I gave up my marriage to feel 22 again, and got played twice. Then I wrote, and wrote. I exposed everything. My arrogance, my rationalizations, the cheap highs, the expensive consequences. I called myself out before anyone else could. I dragged Jessie's name through her glittered-up enabler arc, spotlighted Matt's quiet genius and that post-nup clause like a blade in silk. I told them about Leo, the pantry drawing, Maria's eyes that looked at me like I was a rerun she'd already survived. I posted it, without editing, didn't sleep. When I woke up, hours later, heart pounding, I had hundreds of comments, thousands of upvotes. The top comment read, "Freedom isn't the absence of vows, it's the presence of values." That hit me in the sternum. I printed it, taped it over the bathroom mirror. Every morning I stared at it like a sentence I still hadn't finished serving. The court hearing was 4 months later. Matt had filed for full custody, temporarily at first. I didn't fight it. I couldn't. He had timelines, screenshots, the iPad receipts. I had instability and a trail of bad decisions like spilled breadcrumbs no one followed. But I showed up. Every week, every parenting class, every therapy session, I took notes. I cried through 2 group exercises about repairing ruptures. I called my kids every night, even when they didn't want to talk. When the final hearing came, I wore a navy blue blouse I bought from a thrift store and kept the printout of that Reddit comment in my purse. The judge asked if I had anything to say. I stood. "Your Honor," I said, voice steadier than my legs. "I used to think running felt like flying. It did. Until gravity sent the bill. And today, I'm paying it. Not with blame, not with excuses. With accountability." The courtroom stayed quiet. Even Matt didn't blink. The judge nodded. Matt kept the house, the accounts, the assets. I got structured visitation and a chance to rebuild my character from rubble. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Cameras perched like vultures with branded microphones, and there at the edge stood Ray, Matt's father, same weathered coat, same stare that once felt like judgment but now felt like quiet relief. He didn't approach, just nodded once, almost like, "You heard me now?" I stepped toward the crowd. No makeup, no filter, just me, holding a printed copy of my Reddit post like it was both confession and shield. "I served my husband divorce papers at a rooftop party," I told them, eyes steady on the nearest camera. "Consider this my reversal. Service to anyone thinking about trading commitment for clout. Read my story first, then think again." A reporter tried to ask a question. Another raised a mic. But the moment didn't need more words. Somewhere, I imagined a DJ fading the track, a beat dying in midair. Only this time, the silence felt earned. And the applause? It wasn't real, but it was mine, internal, thunderous.